Monty for joining us today for our Wednesday webinar edition. For today, we're going to be talking about offer versus serve, and my coworker Katie Bark is with me today, so I can hand my headset over to her if we have questions for her or if she'd like to share anything. This Adobe Connect webinar platform is set up so that we would do most of our communication in the chat box, and that's on the left-hand side of your screen. So if you have a question or a comment, please use that chat box to do so, and you would do that by going in where this box is on the bottom of the chat box, type your question, and then click on that little conversation bubble. So the first thing I'd like everyone to do is go ahead and sign in with your name and where you're from. Thank you to the participants who've already done that. The other thing I'd like to direct your attention to is on the bottom left-hand side of your screen is a file box. And within that file are things that you would use from the webinar today, including the certificate of participation is listed there. That's the first thing listed, so you'll want to print that out so you get credit for attending today. And then we have about 3 different handouts we will be going through talking about offer versus serve, and those are listed within that file box as well. So if you want to download a file, you would highlight or click on the file that you want and then click on the download file box, and the computer gives you a chance to do that. If you aren't able to get the ones downloaded that you want, feel free to email me after the webinar and I can send those to you directly. And if anybody would like a copy of these slides, specifically we're going to do some practicing on how to identify a reimbursable meal. If anybody would like a copy of those to do with your staff or with for a training of your own, please let me know and I'll email those to you as well. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone can hear me okay, and I do want to acknowledge that Team Nutrition, we are housed at MSU in Bozeman, but we are an offshoot branch of school nutrition programs in Helena. And Team Nutrition specifically is funded with the USDA Team Nutrition Grant. And so we like to think of that as being everyone's tax dollars at work. Okay, this is my contact information, and please do contact me if you have questions or need more information about today's topic. We're going to talk about these things today: what offer versus serve is, why we recommend that all schools should use it, how does it work at breakfast and at lunch, and then tips for using offer versus serve successfully. So let me try to drag in a little poll question here, and it should be coming in. And I'd like to know, of the people who are on, do you currently use offer versus serve in your lunch program? Okay, and we have everybody saying yes, which is excellent. We want everybody using offer versus serve. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for preparing lunch today and then connecting onto this webinar. You guys are so important in a school because if kids don't have good food, they're not able to perform well or feel well in class. So we know that school meals and snacks improve learning environments, and offer versus serve really can help improve your school lunch program. We're following nutrition guidelines based on My Plate, and so building a healthy lunch, a lot of you have seen this before, looks like this. We have 5 meal components, and they're listed here in these nice colorful blocks. A reimbursable meal contains the minimum serving size of the required number of components offered to a student. So we talk about reimbursable meals a lot, and that's really important that you're helping each student that leaves your service line, that each student would have a reimbursable meal on their tray so that you can get reimbursed or paid back for providing that meal. So the breakfast meal pattern looks like this. I know you guys are all familiar with it. You would be offering 4 items to meet the breakfast meal pattern, and that's milk, fruit or vegetable, either 2 ounces of a grain or 1 ounce of a grain and 1 meat or meat alternate. This is a lunch program meal pattern, and it's been around since 2012, so it's nothing new. We know that this is a lunch pattern that we're planning our menus to meet. Both of these, the lunch meal pattern and the breakfast meal pattern, are listed in the handout, so they're listed in that file box. When we talk about reimbursable meals, point of service is really important. And that point of service is where students are counted and the reimbursable meals are counted. So typically a cashier or the point of service is at the end of the line, and it might be the cashier who's checking that tray to make sure it's a reimbursable meal. Or if you do have approval from OPI School Nutrition, you can have your point of service at the beginning of the line, and that is okay. It just means that whoever on your staff is working at the end of the line, that it's extra important that they are verifying that those meals are reimbursable. So reimbursable meal and point of service are important terms that we'll be talking about today. So what is offer versus serve? It's a meal service option that applies to determine reimbursable school meals. It allows students to decline or to politely say no thank you, different components offered in both school lunch and breakfast. So the beauty of offer versus serve is students get to decide whether they would like to decline 0, 1, or 2 items. So for school lunch, we know we have to offer 5 items. Students can decide if they'd like to take all 5, or if they want to take 4 items, or they need to take at least 3 items. So it gives them the choice to say no thank you to the things that they do not want on their tray that day. So while we allow under offer versus serve students to decline 2 items, to have a reimbursable meal, the students must take a fruit or a vegetable. And so thinking about fruit or vegetables, there's different options down here. And so if we know that they need to have half of a cup of fruit or half a cup of vegetable, that could be a half cup of pure fruit, it could be a half cup of pure vegetable, or it could be a 1/4 cup of each. Juice also counts, and so if you're serving a 4-ounce serving of 100% juice, that counts as a half cup serving of fruit. Thank you. Especially at breakfast time. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So depending on the options above, if they choose a fruit or a vegetable, they still need to select 2 other components. If they're choosing a 1/4 cup fruit and a 1/4 cup vegetable, they would still need to select 2 other components. So the important thing to remember is they select at least 3 things, and one of those 3 items does need to be half cup fruit or vegetable. So where is offer versus serve used? You guys are all using it in your lunch, which is excellent. It's actually required at lunch for senior high schools. It's optional at lunch in lower grades, so elementary and middle schools, offer versus serve is optional. And it's optional for breakfast in all grade levels. So even though it's optional, we strongly encourage that all schools use it. And the reasons why are pretty beneficial. Offer versus serve is really considered a best practice in decreasing food waste. So if we give students the opportunity to say no thank you, they know they're not going to eat something, then if we don't put it on their tray, we're saving that food. It's not just going right into the garbage. Increased customer satisfaction. Everybody likes to make their own choices, including students. So if we allow them choices, we know that they're more likely to eat what they choose, and I think that they will enjoy it a lot more. So improved customer satisfaction can actually help you increase your participation, because your students will feel good about coming through the line and they won't be pressured to eat food that they don't want to. So offer versus serve, in the breakfast program, you would be serving 4 items, 4 components, and students choose 3 out of the 4. one of those items being a half cup fruit or veggie. And in the lunch program, your students would choose 3 out of the 5 components which you are offering, and one item must be half cup fruit or vegetables. Oh, I forgot to pull a poll in earlier, so I'm going to pull it in now if that's okay. I'm just wondering why you do use offer versus serve. If any of these apply to you, let us know. Do you like to, and you please choose more than one. Choose as many as apply. Do you like to provide the choices? Do you feel like it helps decrease food waste? Does it help save you money or provide better customer service? Okay, great. So it looks like everybody's doing a little bit with the most part to decrease food waste. Okay, and I'm thrilled to see that because we really feel like offer versus serve is the best thing a school can do to decrease their food waste. So you guys are already on top of the game. Good job. Okay, let's talk about offer versus serve in breakfast. So our breakfast meal pattern we know looks like this. The 8 ounces of milk, 1 cup fruit or vegetable, 2 ounces of grain, and then you can do the 1 ounce grain plus the 1 ounce meat alternate if you choose to do so. So when we're thinking breakfast offer versus serve, always have in your mind that students choose 3 out of the 4 choices. And we're going to play a little game so that we can identify a reimbursable meal at breakfast. And so a couple things for you to know before we start this activity or this game is when we're looking at these meals, know that a big muffin or a big huge grain that would be 2 ounces counts as 2 items. So if you have a 2 ounce muffin, we would count that as 2 items plus a fruit plus a vegetable, or plus a fruit plus a milk would equal 4. So you can count that as, if it's a 2 ounce grain, as 2 items. If you're just serving 1 slice of toast, that is 1 item. And if you do a toast plus a meat alternate, a grain plus a meat, it would count as 2 items. So we're going to be offering 4 items total, and students would select 3 of the 4, with half cup being a fruit. So as we go through these sample meals, I'd like you to put in your chat box if you think that this is a reimbursable meal or not a reimbursable meal. So if this is our breakfast that we're offering a milk, a medium-sized banana, and we're offering either toast and an egg, or a student can select between those grains. And this is what the student selects: a milk, the banana, and 1 grain. Is that a reimbursable meal? Have they chosen 3 out of the 4? And does it have a fruit or vegetable? Sue saying yes. Great. Anybody else have a vote here? Is that reimbursable? Yes, it is. And why is it reimbursable? The most important things is it has 3 out of the 4 components with half cup fruit. So if this is our next menu, breakfast menu, and we have offered all of those things on the left, and the child selects a banana, a hash brown patty, a yogurt, and a grain, is that reimbursable? They have their fruit, vegetable, 1 grain, and 1 yogurt, which would count as another item. Yes, it is. Okay, what if you offer this: milk, banana, and grain or egg, and a child selects 2 pieces of toast, which would be 2 items, plus a milk? Is this reimbursable? No. And it's not, because it's missing the half cup fruit or vegetable. Okay, what if a child selects 1 piece of toast and 1 banana? Is this reimbursable? Okay, I think if it was 2 slices of toast it would be, but since it's just 1 slice of toast, it just counts as 2 items. So that's a tricky one. What if a child selects this, the banana, the toast, and the egg, which is 3 out of the 4? Is this reimbursable? Yes, it is. Good job. And then we'll do one more. What if you chose the milk, the banana, and the egg? There's 3 items there. Yes, that's reimbursable. Are there any questions about these breakfast meals? Okay. This one is reimbursable. How do you guys offer your fruit at breakfast currently? Are you offering a couple different types of fruit, or do you offer a fruit plus a half cup juice at breakfast? One school is offering 2 juices and at least 2 fruits. Great. Most students like fruit, so if they feel like they have a choice and it's presented in an eye-appealing way, you should have no trouble encouraging them to take at least half of a cup. Another school is saying they do bananas, apple wedges, orange wedges, and juice. Excellent. Okay, I'm just going to flip through then the rest of these breakfast challenges because I feel like you guys have that down pretty well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about lunch. So thinking about lunch, we know we're going to be offering 5 components, and that under offer versus serve, students would take at least 3 of the 5 components. And this little game is called Meal or No Meal, and it's based on the same principle. So as we go through here, imagine that you are working on the service line or as the cashier, and it's your job to identify what is reimbursable. So we'll study the trays pictured, make sure that there's 3 of 5 components, determine if it's a meal or not, and again, if you could type your answer into the chat box. So, remembering that each tray must have 3 of 5, half cup fruit, half cup vegetable, or a quarter cup of both fruit or vegetable. So this is a colorful full tray. Would this be a meal or not a reimbursable meal? This tray did have the fruit or the vegetable, it had the milk, and it had the meat and the grain. So this tray had all 5 components, and that's easily identified as a reimbursable meal. What about this meal? It has the soft shell taco, which has a grain and a meat and a milk. Is this a reimbursable meal? Okay, you guys are saying no, and you're correct. And it's not a reimbursable meal because what is it missing? The fruit. Yep. Okay, how about this? Just let me tell you that this rice is counts as 1 ounce of a grain. And then you have half cup orange and half cup lettuce. So is this a meal or no meal? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is kind of a tricky one. It is a meal because it has a fruit and vegetable, which is each half cup of a fruit, half cup vegetable, or 2 components, and then the brown rice is half cup and counts as a grain. So this would be good for a vegetarian student. All right, how about this? It has probably almost a cup of fruit and then a half cup of the veggie corn salad. So does it have 3 components on here? You guys are saying no, and that's correct. It just has a fruit or vegetable, which is excellent if we're promoting that, but we need to have one more thing on this tray, either a grain, a protein, or a milk. Okay, how about this? What if the student chooses the entree and the oranges? Is this a meal or no meal? Good job, ladies. You're saying yes, and it is, because they have their fruit, their meat, and their grain. This is a really pretty tray. Would this be a meal or no meal? Yes, it's easily a meal. It has almost all 5 components on it. It does have all 5. All right, what about this? A milk, half cup apples, and half cup salad. Meal or no meal? Okay. It actually is, because the fruit and the vegetable each count as their own component. So you have a vegetable component, fruit, and then the milk. So this brings up a good point that you don't always have to take the entree. So the entree is optional under offer versus serve as long as they have 3 of the 5 components, and the milk is optional. So it's been years since, I guess, we thought that milk, you had to take it. You don't have to take the milk now, but you do have to have 3 of the 5. If you're not taking a milk, then make sure that you have water readily available for those students that aren't choosing milk. Okay, what about this? This has 1 ounce protein, 1/4 cup vegetable in the sauce, no, half cup veggie in the sauce, and 1 ounce of grain. So would this be a reimbursable meal? That's kind of tricky. Yes, it is, just because the sauce counts as half cup vegetable. Oh, any questions about that? Or does anybody feel like you would like to have those slides and you could have your own staff practice those? It's something that we share quite a bit because it's kind of nice just to practice it. The other thing I think is great to practice is do it with your own menu on your own trays, and have your staff break into different teams and try to identify what a meal is and what it isn't. It'd be great to have students do it. Also, it's staff, if you have supervisory or aides, your lunchroom staff working in there. You could have your family consumer science teacher do it as part of a lesson. So there's all kinds of things you could do with it. Sue, I see that you would like the slides, so I'll make sure I send those to you. So thank you for your participation in those practice rounds. I think it's really useful to see how different reimbursable trays can look. And what's nice about that is it gives students each their own choice on how they want to build or create that meal, depending on what they like and how hungry they are each day. So just overall, talking about strategies to increase healthy food selection and decrease food waste, we're seeing that a lot of schools are doing taste testing. So even with offer versus serve, if you're serving a new recipe, like maybe that bean and corn salad that we saw on the tray, if you want to put out a nice bowl of that and then put a small size spoon and souffle cups out there, give your students a chance to do some taste testing on a new recipe before you make maybe 300 servings of it. And that way they'll be introduced to it and you'll get an idea if they like it or not. Schools that schedule recess before lunch, we know that students eat better and waste less with recess before lunch. Making sure they have adequate time to eat. So if students have 15 minutes once they sit down with their tray, doesn't that sound like an ideal world? But it doesn't hurt to advocate for that. You can reduce food waste by using a share basket for whole fruits, fruits with a peel, or even unopened milks. Using offer versus serve correctly. Also designing your cafeteria so that students have their own, or students are allowed to select their own foods either through salad bars or a self-service bar. And then learning about nudging techniques with smarter lunchrooms. So giving your fruits or vegetables really creative, tasty sounding names can also help decrease food waste. Making food eye-appealing, visible, and convenient to select. These are the ladies from Ronan. This picture is fairly old, but I love it because it shows that they're doing these beautiful fruit cups, and what student wouldn't want to select one of those with these lovely ladies smiling at them so nicely? So service with a smile is really important as your students or your customers go through the line. Different things you can do as well to really market your fruits and vegetables. I guess we highlight fruits or vegetables when we talk about offer versus serve because it's maybe more common that the fruits or veggies are thrown away. And so thinking about ways we can market them to really make them sound and look really appealing are things that Montana schools are doing here, whether it be building a mountain of oranges like Hardin did in this upper left. This is Columbia Falls, has a nice black plastic bowl, which really makes the colors pop out, fresh fruit at the end of their line. So if their cashier notices that somebody's come through the line without any fruit or vegetable, she can say, please take something out of this bowl to round out your meal, or help yourself to one of these to get the best price on your meal. Down here on the bottom left is a colorful salad bar where students can select their own choices, and with many choices, it's not hard to get at least half cup on. Most students are willing to take something. And you guys have such respectful, warm, kind relationships with these students, probably more so than maybe their regular, other school staff. So students are welcome in your lunchroom. They have a good relationship with you. So if you're asking them politely to please choose something, fruit or vegetable, on their way through the line, most of them will do that, no problem. This is a homemade soup that you can put some veggies in, and then a beautiful relish tray made by Lori at Columbia Falls. So just ways to encourage more fruit or vegetables. One thing that I think offer versus serve can just sometimes be confusing. So if you feel like you want just some practice in it for you and your staff, it's really good just to review portion sizes. So get out your spoodles and your scoops and get out some trays and practice scooping a 1/4 cup of canned corn or half cup of applesauce onto those trays so you guys all know what that looks like visually. So really, the other thing you can do with your production records is make sure you have it clearly written what portion size, what spoodle, what size ladle needs to go into each menu item that day, so that you're not over serving things on the students' trays. If you have a salad bar, you can use your salad bar to meet all of your fruit and vegetable requirements, and most students are able to get at least half of a cup going through a salad bar. Don't be afraid to count your fruit or veggies in your entrees, so like your spaghetti sauces, your soups, things like that. You can count your fruit or vegetable in that. So that might help you a little bit. The minimum that you can count to be credible in a recipe or towards meeting a menu component is 1/8 of a cup. So practice with your 1/8 cup size, half cup, 1/4 cup, and 1 cup. We put a handout together years ago that gives just visual amounts of a apple that would be the size of a tennis ball would be 1 cup. Medium-sized banana, 1 cup. About 8 strawberries is a cup of strawberry, and again, the tennis ball size fruit would be an orange, which would be half cup. Medium-sized potato, about 10 baby carrots is a cup, half of a sweet potato, and then your, if you have cooked greens, it would be a cup, or if you're doing 2 cups of raw leafy greens, that would count as a cup. So if anybody would like this handout, we still have it. We can send to you. It might be nice to hang up in your kitchen. These are half cup portions. If you're doing a 4-ounce fruit cup or a juice, that's easy. But if you want to play around with these other things, a small bunch of grapes, 4 strawberries, a small serving of cantaloupe, or a half cup dried fruit. And then same with the vegetables. So especially common ones that you guys serve frequently, it'd be great to sit down with your staff and have them measure out and practice this so they know what it is as the kids go through the line. Okay, serving tips to help decrease waste. One thing I think that maybe we're sometimes do unintentionally is overserve the amount of food that goes on, especially elementary school kids' trays. So knowing that if they just need to leave your line with half-cup fruit, you can give them a quarter or a third of a cup scoop of fruit or vegetable through the line. We don't have to give them half cup of each, especially the younger kids, half cup fruit, half cup vegetable, because they might not eat that much. So if they know they can come back for more fruits and vegetables, I think it's almost better to start them out with a little smaller portion size, but enough to get half cup on their tray. The other thing is if you put a positively worded signage at the start of your line, then they are so adaptable and they learn so fast. So if you have signage that says enjoy a fruit or a vegetable or both, then choose 2 more items is a nice way to do that so that they know that they have to choose a fruit or a vegetable. What we don't like to see on our service line is a sign that says you must choose a fruit or a vegetable with your lunch. So I know you guys can come up with really positive ways to say that. The other idea, this was actually Katie Bark's ideas, from Target Range, Nisi's idea, is offer a smaller size portion of fruits or vegetables for your younger kids and name it something that links with their school mascot. So if your mascot is the Tigers, your K through 4th graders could get a quarter cup fruit, and that would be a cub portion. And then before you start serving your bigger kids, your 4th graders on up, or your middle school, high schooler, quickly switch out that spoodle or scoop and then have it be a half cup or a full tiger size portion for your older kids. So thinking about that, then we're not putting too much food on their tray to start with. This is a poster that is available through Iowa Team Nutrition. It's inviting kids to eat 3 out of the 5 colors, making sure to choose a fruit or a vegetable. So it's an example of positive signage. This is that tray that we saw from before, and you can see that if a child truly was going to choose all 5 components, this would be a huge amount of food for a younger student to eat during their probably too short lunch period once they sit down with their tray. So if we think that really to be reimbursable, a child could walk away with just half cup of fruit or vegetable and 2 other components on this tray, please let's think about letting them choose. If they want the oranges, great. If they want to decline the lettuce, tomato, and the corn salad, that's fine. If they want a little bit of all 3 of those fruits and vegetables, that's fine too. But it's really important, I think, that we're not just pre-plating these and giving everybody all of these things when we could let them make the choice. These are examples of positive signage from Livingston schools. They actually worked with their high school art program, art teacher, and had the students design some positive phrasing so that students know that they could grab 1 fruit or vegetable and they're done. So grab 1 and done as you go through the line, and that makes it pretty simple. Also just a friendly, do you have your fruit or vegetable on your tray? So thinking about letting them choose. If you're pre-plating your trays now, you might not be using offer versus serve correctly. So maybe go back and rethink how you're using offer versus serve. Trying to design your service line to allow students to choose is ideal. And then some schools are putting out a sample tray, which is really nice. So as the students are waiting in line, they can see that tray, get an idea on what is offered and what they want to choose as they go through the line. So you put out a sample tray with some signage that says, be ready to choose 3 out of these 5 items, and it might help move the students through a little quicker. Again, a sample tray is good. if you practice with your staff so that they can quickly identify what a tray looks like, and then making sure that students know they have the option that they can come back for more fruits or vegetables is good strategy as well. So one thing I want to point out is let's make sure that we all know and appreciate the difference in what meal planning to meet the meal pattern, the difference between meal planning and what offer versus serve is. So you plan your menus to meet the meal pattern each month, but you design your service line to use offer versus serve to let the students create a reimbursable meal. So if you have a menu for the day that's a hamburger, fries, corn, apples, oranges, and milk, then that's where you could use your production records to look back in the past and see on that day how much corn did you use versus how many potatoes were served. How much applesauce did you serve versus the oranges, so that you're not putting too much food out, but you're still giving them the choices. So we know that when you're planning your menus, you are meeting that meal pattern, but then you know that when you're using offer versus serve, that the students aren't walking away with, they don't need to walk away with all 5 components. So by keeping accurate production records, that can really help you look back and kind of plan how much food you're going to serve. Also, if you have a salad bar that you're doing a lot of choices for fruits or vegetables, your production record for your salad bar will really help you track how much you're using. And if you're not using a lot, you can put out less of those items. So you guys gave some good strategies earlier about how you use offer versus serve at breakfast. And so you already have a lot of these things done. You're offering at least 2 types of fruit to allow choice. You can offer your fruit in at least half-cup portion size. So if they just choose one of those fruits, then they've automatically created a reimbursable meal. Or if you do offer a fruit in a smaller portion size, just know that they would have to do 2 scoops of the one to get half of a cup, or 1 little scoop of both. And you can offer a half cup of 100% juice several days a week. You could offer it every day, but there is that little requirement in the meal pattern that no more than half of the total fruit or vegetable offerings over a week may be in the form of juice. If you have any questions, please remember to type those into the chat box if anybody has a question about the juice. And then offer versus serve at lunch. If you have a salad bar, many schools are moving to allow all students to have access to it. And this is great for a couple different reasons. It allows you to offer all your fruits and vegetables on the salad bar for free choice, and then it really simplifies your main line, so you only offer your entree and maybe 1 or 2, even no fruit or vegetable choices. So it frees up staff that would have been on your main line to help with the salad bar, and it gives the students more choices. Or if you are just doing your fruit or vegetables on the main line, see if you can offer 2 choices of fruit and 2 choices of vegetables daily if possible. Remember that if you have a potato offered, this is a starchy vegetable. Now most students will take a potato, and so they don't need to have the other vegetable on their tray again for that meal. They wouldn't even need a fruit on their tray if they have half cup of potato. So make sure you're not overserving your fruits and vegetables on a meal that has a potato on it, but do have those available in case the students want those. And then if you have a legume dish that's on the menu, see if you wanted to let students taste test it or give out some samples. Know that if you have refried beans or baked beans on your line, you have met the meal pattern by offering it. But what we don't want you to do is make every student take half of a cup of it if it's not really a favorite item, or if you know that every student isn't going to eat half cup of that legume or whatever it is. So that is an ideal situation where you offer it, but then give them the choice to either choose it or politely decline it. So don't open up 10 cans of beans if you know that you're only going to go through one. But if you put it out there with a creative name and see if they'd like to taste test it or give some samples, it might be a good way to move more of that. And then one thing that I think is really important is make sure that your staff or your students know how offer versus serve works. So this includes directors, it includes your service line staff, but I think it's also important to include adults or teachers or aides that are supervising in the lunchroom, because sometimes they kind of overstep. If they don't know what a student needs on their tray, they might make mealtime not so pleasant. So if you can make sure any adult in your lunchroom knows how offer versus serve works, I think it'll make mealtime more pleasant for everybody. We have a resource that would help you do that, and it's called Comfortable Cafeterias, and it's available at this website here. And in that resource, there's posters for your lunchroom, some positive phrasing resources, and training handouts for your staff. So this is a great resource, and it's available from Team Nutrition. You can email me, and I can send you the link to it as well. Let me just go back to this. I would love to hear how you guys on the line are using offer versus serve in your program. So let me see if I can open this poll. Okay, and this is just a type-in answer. So if you have really good tips on how you use offer versus serve really well in your program, would you please type it in here and we can all learn from you? I know Katie Apple-Goebel used to be a peer educator, and she said, you know, if I'm going to take the time to open a can of corn, I can take just as similar amount of time to open a can of green beans. So just by opening another type of vegetable, it doesn't take that much more time. The other, Patrice O'Laughlin in Hardin, she serves reimbursable grab-and-go meals at her a la carte line by offering half cup of a 100% fruit smoothie every day. So if her students don't want to take a bag full of baby carrots or a whole apple, they can always choose a half cup of 100% fruit smoothie, and that's an awesome way to get that half cup of fruit in as a fruit choice for offer versus serve. So anything you can do to make a choice appealing and make that choice available is great. Do any of you guys do training already with your staff so that they know how to identify a reimbursable meal? We talk about it a lot. Good. You probably find like you're constantly talking about it. At the beginning of the year, I conducted training with my staff to review this important procedure. Yes. All right. Thank you. Okay. So if anybody has any questions or any best practices, anything that you use that works well in your program, now would be a time to type that in. And we will be wrapping up in about 5 minutes. So does anybody have a question on offer versus serve that we did not cover, that you had a burning desire to learn today? Or Does anybody have tips on how you teach it? It sounds so simple, but a lot of times it's just it may be hard to visualize once you have your service line built and ready. Okay, again, if I could direct you to the files, there's an offer versus lunch handout, which is useful, which would be useful to help train your staff with. I'll see if I can pull it up for you here, and that I think I'll just leave it on the screen once I pull it up. So here's my contact information. Please do get in touch with me if we could help you at all, or we could put you in touch with a peer trainer that has experience on offer versus serve, or any of the great specialists that are out visiting your program can help you with that as well. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and see if I can share this with you. This is available down in your files box on your lower left, and it's the offer versus serve in the National School Lunch Meal Pattern. And it really, I think, lays out nicely the 3 of 5 components, specifically how to do the fruit or vegetable is along the bottom half of that sheet. Okay. I'm not seeing anything else in the chat box, so if there's no other questions, I think we'll go ahead and sign off. I want to thank you, ladies who have been on, and gentlemen who have been on today and really participated in it and shared your ideas and advice. Okay, thanks again to School Nutrition Programs for hosting these webinars. Thank you, great staff, for your time today. I know how valuable it is. Let us know if we can help you with anything else. All right, take good care. Okay, and bye-bye.